Welcome to the Korean Mafia romance stories. The channel will bring you stories of strong bonds, cultural differences, passionate love, and unforgettable dramatic events. If you love interracial love stories and cinematic storytelling, then this is the place for you. Enjoy listening. Please subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories. I remember the exact second he should have died. The monitor flatlined. A clean, unforgiving line stretching across the screen while the trauma team around me started stepping back, already moving on to the next patient like he was just another body that did not make it. Call it, one of the residents said, pulling off his gloves. Multiple gunshot wounds, massive blood loss. He is done. I stared at the man on the table, blood soaking through the sheets, his face pale but not empty. You ever look at someone and just know there is still a fight left in them, even when every number says otherwise? That was him. And I made a decision that broke protocol in under 2 seconds. Charge again, I said. My voice cut sharper than I expected. The room paused. Someone sighed. Dr. Bennett, it is over. I did not look at them. Charge again. The shock hit his body hard. Nothing. Just that same endless line. My jaw tightened. I pressed my hands back onto his chest and started compressions again, counting under my breath, forcing rhythm back into something that refused to cooperate. You are not dying here, I muttered, more to myself than to him. 30 seconds. 40. 50. Then it happened. A flicker. Small. Almost nothing. But it was there. The line broke. The machine screamed back to life. And suddenly the room shifted, everyone rushing in again like they had not just given up on him moments before. We stabilized him after that, barely. Surgery took hours. Complications stacked on top of each other. But he lived. No ID. No records. No one came asking for him. That alone should have told me everything I needed to know. Men do not arrive at an ER riddled with bullets and completely invisible unless someone very powerful wants them erased. I should have stepped back. Filed the report. Walked away. Instead, I checked on him after my shift ended. Then again the next morning. Something about him did not sit right. Not in a way that made me afraid. In a way that made me curious. When he finally woke up, it was not dramatic. No gasping. No confusion. His eyes opened slowly, sharp and aware like he had never been unconscious at all. He scanned the room once, taking in every detail before his gaze landed on me. I was standing by the foot of the bed, chart in hand, pretending I was there for routine observation. He studied me for a long second, then spoke. Why did you not let me die? His voice was rough, but steady. Not fear. Not gratitude. Just a question. I blinked, caught off guard by how direct it was. Because that is not what I do, I answered. It sounded simple. It was not. He held my gaze a moment longer, like he was trying to understand something that did not make sense in his world. Then he looked away, silent. I thought that was the end of it. Another patient saved. Another life pushed back from the edge. But later that day, 2 men in dark suits walked into the hospital asking about an unidentified male admitted overnight. Not family. Not law enforcement. Their eyes moved like predators scanning for something to finish. That was when it hit me. I had not just saved a life. I had interfered with something far bigger than I understood. And the man I brought back from the dead was not someone the world would forgive me for saving. I knew something was wrong the moment those 2 men walked into the ER like they owned the place. They did not rush. They did not ask loudly. They moved quietly, efficiently, flashing just enough authority to make people step aside without questioning it. One of them stopped at the nurse's station, his voice low but firm. We are looking for a patient admitted overnight. Male. No identification. My stomach tightened before I even realized why. You ever feel danger before you can explain it? That was it. Pure instinct. I turned away before they could notice me watching, forcing myself to keep moving like nothing had changed. My pulse was steady on the outside, but inside everything sharpened. I had seen people like this before, not in hospitals, but in the aftermath of violence. They were not here to visit. They were here to finish something. I walked straight into the supply room, shut the door quietly, and pulled up the patient file on the nearest terminal. It was already gone. Not deleted. Rewritten. Blank fields where data should be. Access logs scrubbed clean. Someone had reached into the hospital system and erased him like he never existed. That was when I understood. This was not over. I grabbed my phone and headed back toward his room, keeping my pace controlled, my expression neutral. The hallway felt longer than usual, every step echoing louder than it should. When I pushed the door open, he was already awake, sitting up slightly despite everything his body had been through. No confusion. No weakness in his eyes. Just awareness. He looked at me once, then toward the hallway behind me. They are here, he said quietly. I stopped in the doorway. You knew this would happen. Yes. Something in me snapped, not fear, not yet. Frustration. Then why did you not tell me? I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. Do you have any idea what you just dragged into my hospital? His gaze shifted back to me, calm in a way that made everything worse. You were already involved the moment you chose to save me. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were loud, but because they were true. Footsteps passed outside. Slow. Searching. I moved closer to him, lowering my voice. Who are they? I asked. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he studied me again, like he was weighing something. That had nothing to do with the situation. People who clean up mistakes, he said finally. My throat tightened. And I am the mistake? He shook his head once. No. I am. Before I could respond, the door handle moved. Not a knock. Just pressure. Testing. I reacted without thinking, stepping between him and the door. You cannot even stand, I whispered sharply. If they come in here, you are dead. He watched me for a second, then said something I did not expect. So are you. The handle stopped moving. Silence stretched. Then footsteps moved away. I exhaled slowly, not realizing I had been holding my breath. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. This was no longer about a patient. This was something else entirely. I turned back to him. You need to leave, I said. Now. Before they come back. He did not move. And you? He asked. I almost laughed. This is my job. My hospital. I am not going anywhere. That was when his expression changed. Not softer. Not warmer. Just more certain. That is no longer your decision, he said. Before I could argue, the lights flickered once. Then again. Subtle, but enough. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again. And again. Then stopped. A second later, the overhead system crackled, then went silent. Not malfunction. Control. They are locking the building, he said. My chest tightened. That is not possible. It is happening. I stepped back, mind racing through protocols, procedures, anything that made sense. None of it applied. This was not an emergency drill. This was something coordinated. Something deliberate. I looked at him again, really looked this time. The wounds. The precision of the attack that had put him here. The way he moved, even injured. Everything pointed to one conclusion I had been avoiding. Who are you? I asked. He held my gaze. Kim Jun-suk, he said. The name landed like a weight I could not immediately process. I had heard it before. Not in my world. In headlines. In rumors. In conversations that ended quickly when someone realized they had said too much. Financial networks. Black money. Power that did not exist on paper but controlled everything anyway. My stomach dropped. You are kidding, I said, but it came out hollow. I am not. Another vibration in my pocket. This time, a message. No number. Just text. Leave. Now. I froze. Slowly, I showed him the screen. His eyes flicked to it, then back to me. They are giving you a chance, he said. To do what? I asked. To survive. I shook my head, anger rising again, cutting through the fear. I am not running because I did my job. My voice was sharper now. I saved a life. That is not a crime. He stepped closer, ignoring the pain that should have stopped him. In your world, maybe, he said. In mine, it is. The door at the end of the hallway slammed open. Voices. Closer now. No more pretending. I looked at him, then at the window, then back at the door. Everything narrowed into one choice. Stay and pretend this was still normal. Or accept that nothing about this was normal anymore. I did not ask for your protection, I said. I know. Then stop deciding things for me. He shook his head once. That is not how this works. That was the moment it clicked. Not fully. Not completely. But enough. His protection was not saving me. It was marking me. And whether I liked it or not, I was already part of his world. I thought walking away would protect me. Turns out, it only made me easier to find. The hospital felt different after those men showed up. Not louder. Not busier. Just wrong. Like something invisible had shifted under the surface. I tried to focus on my patients, on the rhythm I knew, the controlled chaos of the ER that had always made sense to me. But every time the doors opened, my eyes snapped up. Every unfamiliar face felt like a threat. You ever realize too late that your life just crossed into someone else's territory? That was me, counting heartbeats while waiting for the next problem to walk through the door. By the end of my shift, my access card stopped working. At first I thought it was a system error. It happens. Hospitals run on fragile tech more than anyone admits. But then my login failed. Then my email. Then my supervisor avoided eye contact when I asked what was going on. Administrative review, she said quickly, too quickly. Just go home, Aisha. We will sort it out. That was the moment it clicked. This was not a glitch. This was removal. I walked out into the night with nothing but my bag and a growing sense that I had already been erased from my own life. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Then again. Finally I answered, more out of instinct than logic. Dr. Bennett, a voice said, calm and controlled. You should not be alone right now. My grip tightened. Who is this? A pause. Then, someone who owes you a life. I froze on the sidewalk, traffic moving around me like nothing was wrong. Where are you? I asked. Close enough, he replied. I turned slowly, scanning the street. And there he was. Across the road, leaning against a black car like he had been there the entire time. Kim Jun-suk. Alive. Walking. Watching me. Anger hit before relief. You should not be out of a hospital bed, I snapped as I crossed toward him. He did not move. And you should not be exposed, he answered. Not defensive. Just factual. I stopped a few feet away, studying him. He looked intact. Too intact for someone who had almost died hours ago. That alone told me everything I needed to know about the kind of man I had saved. What is happening to me? I demanded. His eyes shifted briefly past me, scanning the street. Then returned. You were seen, he said. That makes you a liability. I let out a sharp breath. A liability for who? His expression did not change. For everyone. Before I could respond, a car slowed at the corner. Not random. Too deliberate. My pulse spiked. He noticed it before I did. Of course he did. His hand closed around my wrist, firm but not rough. We are leaving, he said. I am not going anywhere with you, I shot back, pulling slightly. His grip tightened just enough to stop me. Then you will die here. No emotion. No threat. Just truth. That was the problem with him. He did not exaggerate. I hesitated for half a second too long. The car door opened. 2 men stepped out. Same suits. Same controlled movement I had seen in the hospital. My stomach dropped. Get in, Jun-suk said. This time, I did not argue. He guided me into the car, sliding in beside me as it pulled away before the men could close the distance. Silence filled the space between us again, but this time it was sharper. More dangerous. I stared straight ahead, forcing my breathing to steady. This is insane, I said under my breath. I saved your life. I did my job. That should have been the end of it. He did not respond immediately. When he did, his voice was lower. In my world, there is no end of it. There is only consequence. I turned to him, anger rising again. Then fix it, I snapped. Call whoever is after me. Tell them I am not involved. He met my gaze fully now, and for the first time, I saw something close to frustration. It does not work like that, he said. You saw me. You treated me. That is enough. I shook my head. Enough for what? His answer came without hesitation. To be removed. The word hung between us, heavier than anything else he had said. The car turned sharply, slipping into a quieter part of the city. I looked out the window, trying to anchor myself to something real. Streetlights. Buildings. Normal life continuing like I had not just been pulled into something I did not understand. I did not ask for your protection, I said finally, quieter now. You do not get to decide what happens to me. I already did, he replied. That hit harder than I expected. Not because of what he said, but because of how certain he sounded. I let out a bitter laugh. So what, I am just supposed to hide now? Sit in some room while your enemies decide whether I live or die? His jaw tightened slightly. They have already decided. I turned back to him. Then what exactly are you doing? He held my gaze for a long second. Delaying the outcome. I stared at him, disbelief mixing with something colder. That is not protection, I said. That is a countdown. For the first time, he did not answer. We pulled into an underground garage moments later. The car stopped. The engine went quiet. The driver stepped out without a word. Jun-suk did not move immediately. Neither did I. The silence pressed in again, heavier now that there was nowhere else to look. You should have let me die, he said suddenly. I turned to him, anger flaring again despite everything. No, I said. Do not do that. Do not put this on me. I did what I was trained to do. I saved a patient. That is it. That is not it, he replied. I shook my head, stepping out of the car before he could say anything else. The air in the garage felt colder, heavier. He followed, staying just close enough to guide me without touching me this time. You are not a witness, he said as we moved toward the elevator. You are the reason I am alive. I stopped walking. And that, I said slowly, turning to face him, is exactly why I might die. The moment I saw the first name on the financial map, I understood something I could not unsee. It was not just numbers. Not just transactions. It was people. Hospitals. Cities I recognized. Dates that lined up with nights I had worked double shifts, nights when the ER overflowed with bodies that never should have been there. I stood in the middle of that safe house, staring at the screen like it might change if I looked long enough. It did not. It only became clearer. Patterns. Triggers. Payments released not after conflict, but before it. My stomach turned. "This is you," I said, my voice quieter than I expected. Not accusatory. Not loud. Just certain. Jun-suk did not answer right away. He stood a few feet behind me, still, controlled, like he was deciding how much truth I was allowed to handle. "It is a system," he said finally. That was not an answer. I turned to face him. "How many people died because of your money?" I asked. The question hung between us, heavier than anything else I had said since this started. He did not respond. That was my answer. Something inside me shifted then. Not fear. Not anger. Something colder. Clearer. "I am not staying here," I said. I grabbed my bag from the chair, already moving toward the door. He stepped in front of me before I reached it. Not aggressive. Not forceful. Just there. "You cannot leave," he said. "Watch me," I shot back, trying to move around him. His hand caught my wrist, firm enough to stop me. "You leave, you die," he said. I yanked my arm back. "Then I die," I snapped. "But I am not hiding behind a man who funds the very violence I spend my life trying to fix." The words hit harder than I intended, but I did not take them back. I could not. He stared at me, something dark flickering in his eyes for the first time. Not anger at me. Something deeper. Something closer to recognition. "You think I do not know what this is," he said quietly. "You think I have not seen what it does?" I shook my head. Knowing and stopping are two different things. Silence followed. Tight. Uncomfortable. Real. His phone rang. He did not need to check the screen. He already knew who it was. He answered, his voice returning to that controlled tone I was starting to recognize as dangerous. "Speak." A pause. Then the shift. Subtle, but unmistakable. "No," he said. Another pause. Longer this time. "She is not a witness." His eyes flicked toward me. "She is the reason I am alive." My chest tightened. The voice on the other end was louder now, sharp even through the silence. I could not hear the words, but I did not need to. I could feel them. Pressure. Authority. Finality. Jun-suk did not move. "Touch her," he said, each word precise, "and you answer to me." He ended the call without waiting for a reply. That was it. The line had been drawn. "You just declared war," I said. "It was already coming," he replied. The lights flickered once. Then again. My instincts kicked in before my thoughts caught up. "That is not power fluctuation," I said, moving back to the screen. The network map glitched, nodes blinking out one by one. Access points locking. Data rerouting. "They are cutting you off," I added, faster now, my hands already moving across the keyboard. "Internal access revoked. External channels restricted. They are isolating you." "Can you stop it?" he asked. I hesitated. Not because I could not. Because I knew what it meant. "If I do this," I said slowly, eyes still on the screen, "there is no going back." He stepped closer, just enough for me to feel his presence without touching me. "There is no going back for either of us," he said. That was all I needed. My fingers moved faster, breaking through layers of security that were never meant to be touched from inside. Firewalls stacked over each other, defensive protocols triggering one after another. Whoever was on the other side of this network knew exactly what I was trying to do. And they were trying to stop me. Hard. "They are escalating," I said. "Deploying counter-intrusion scripts. Tracing origin points." I glanced at him. "They are going to find us." "They already have," he replied. Right on cue, a loud impact echoed from somewhere above us. Not distant. Not subtle. Close. My heart slammed against my ribs. "That is not digital," I said. "No," he answered. "It is not." Another impact. Closer. "They are here," I whispered. I pushed harder, forcing access into the core financial routing system. This was it. The center. The engine that kept everything running. Transactions worth millions moving in seconds, feeding conflicts across continents. My hands trembled for half a second, then steadied. "You built this," I said without looking at him. "I maintained it," he corrected. "That is not better." Another crash. The door upstairs would not hold much longer. "Can you shut it down?" he asked. I stared at the screen. Every instinct I had as a doctor told me to preserve life. To stabilize. To repair. This was the opposite. This was destruction on a scale I had never imagined. Yes, I said. What happens if you do? I swallowed. Everything stops. Silence. Then he said the words that changed everything. A life cannot be repaid with money. I closed my eyes for a brief second. Then I hit execute. The system reacted instantly. Alerts flooding the screen. Transfers freezing mid-process. Accounts locking. Chains breaking across the network like a series of controlled detonations. This was not a shutdown. This was collapse. Behind me, the final barrier gave way. I did not turn around. I did not need to. Go, he said. I shook my head. Not without you. This is my debt, he replied. Another gunshot. Closer now. I grabbed the drive, ripping it free, my pulse racing. If your empire is the price, I said, meeting his eyes for the first time since this started, then it is already paid. For the first time, something like respect crossed his face. And then everything fell apart. The collapse did not sound like an explosion. It sounded like silence spreading too fast for anyone to stop it. 1 second the system was alive, pulsing with money, control, and invisible power. The next, it choked. Transactions froze mid-transfer. Accounts locked. Entire chains of funding vanished like they had never existed. I watched it happen in real time, my screen filling with errors that no one could override. You ever pull a single thread and realize the whole structure was built to fall? That was this. Global. Immediate. Irreversible. Behind me, the noise faded. Not because the threat was gone, but because it no longer mattered. The system they were protecting was already dead. I turned slowly. Jun Suk was still standing, but something about him had changed. Not physically. Not visibly. But the weight he carried before, the control, the certainty, it was gone. In its place was something quieter. Something real. Blood still marked his sleeve, but he did not seem to notice. His eyes met mine, steady, grounded in a way they had not been before. It is done, I said. He nodded once. No anger. No regret. Just acceptance. Your empire is gone, I added. A pause. Then, almost calmly, it was never mine. That hit harder than I expected. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance now. Not for us. For everything else. Governments reacting. Systems failing. Power shifting in ways no one could control anymore. The world was adjusting, violently, to the absence of something it had depended on for too long. I grabbed my bag, the drive still warm in my hand, and walked past him toward the exit. This time, he did not stop me. Did not guide me. Did not try to control the outcome. For the first time since this began, the choice was mine again. At the door, I hesitated. Not because I needed permission. Because I needed to understand. I turned just enough to look at him. You said this was your debt, I said. You think this pays it? He held my gaze, something steady and unguarded in his expression now. No, he said. A life cannot be repaid. Silence settled between us, softer this time. Then I nodded once. That is the first honest thing you have said. I stepped outside into a world that no longer operated the same way it had yesterday. News alerts blared from passing cars. People on the street stared at their phones, confusion spreading faster than information. Markets would crash. Alliances would fracture. But somewhere in that chaos, something had been stopped. Not perfectly. Not cleanly. But enough. I did not look back. Because some debts are not meant to be paid. They are meant to change you. In the end, it was never about power. Not his. Not mine. It was about a single moment where someone chose to act differently. I saved a life because that is who I am. He destroyed an empire because he finally understood what a life is worth. And somewhere between those two choices, the world shifted. But let me ask you something. If saving one person meant putting your own life at risk, would you still do it? And if tearing everything down was the only way to make things right, would you have the courage to press the button? If this story stayed with you, do not just scroll away. Hit like so more people can discover it. Subscribe for more stories where justice is not simple, but it is real. And tell me in the comments what would you have done?